I think we're live.
I think we are.
Well, hello, Courtney. All right,
Huh?
welcome to Carlastrology. Today I have the beautiful Maria from LadyKnight of Avalon.
Hello.
And
I'm
today,
not alone today. That's Artemis.
oh, cutie. Um, Before I get into the topic, Maria, tell us a little bit about your channel.
Okay. Well, Lady Knight of Avalon is my channel name, and my channel is more like a diary for myself, for my spiritual development, so that I can look back 10, 20 years from now and see what I was doing at the time, what I was interested in, what I was studying, what my thought process was on certain topics like tarot, spirituality, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how I see my channel. It's more like a diary for myself, and of course, um, I love the community aspect of TarotTube, where I can get to know other people who are also interested in that. Because in my real life, I don't have any tarot people around me. So I'm super grateful that we even have TarotTube and that I can connect with many people, just like yourself.
I totally agree with that. With the I do a few different things on here, but I think you and I were talking about it. The biggest thing with wanting to touch all these different types of topics is because for me, it was fairly new with tarot. Everything that I first find out that I didn't know is like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about doing that. So I have
Yeah,
to know more. And the only way I'm going to know is getting other people's point of view and then
exactly.
going down, seeing it through their eyes is, I
Mm-hmm.
love it. It's exciting.
Yes, it
So
is.
today's topic is like pairing up the major arcana.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I never would have thought about doing that. Obviously, you get it in a reading, you might have to, but
Yeah.
so, and this was something you brought to my attention. Um, what brought it to yours? What made you think about it?
It was this book. This is like there's a three-part series. There's a red, a blue, and a green book, and this is the third one. And this book actually has a lot of great topics in it, and one of them is the pairings of the majors. And this is something that Oswald Wirth did, and I thought uh, that I want to try this and see what his thought process was and if I agree with that or not. And so then, like, this is how they do it. They put the cards into two rows. They start with the magician and have the fool at the very end. So they go like this way and then the other way around and back. And so since I always love talking about these kind of things, I thought this would be the perfect topic to do with someone else. And so that's why we're doing it together.
I love that. Yeah, I actually, after you had brought it to my attention, I looked up a few things, what would come up, and it was like you had said that they pair it up that way, but you had mentioned whether the fool is at 0 or the fool is at
Mm-hmm.
22. So when you
Yeah,
fold it in half, it's kind of like what is on top of each other at that point.
yeah. So
So
there's so many different ways of pairing them, whether it's like doing it in two rows, doing it in like 3 and 3, like all kinds of different things. Or if you go with like the themes of the card, whether you have Empress, Emperor, High Priestess, Hierophant, Lovers, Devil, like so many different pairings that you could do. And this is just one of the things that you can do.
I think it's brilliant. It just opens up to me, helping you to retain the knowledge that you receive from tarot. And
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, when you get my age, it's easy to forget everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, but we have so many other things to worry about. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but this
And
is fun.
we have already learned, hopefully, so many things in life.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
who
yeah.
knows when we're at maximum capacity?
Well, I like I like knowing that even you know, someone like Carl Jung would refer to the tarot. You know, to come up with a or for like identifying archetypes. You know, and then I've noticed since actually studying the tarot that, you know, wow, that makes sense. I know a high priestess, or I know a fool. Anyway, okay, so now you shared a couple things with me that I think is pretty interesting. What was his name again? Worth.
Yeah. Oswald Worth.
Oswald. Yes. How did I forget that name? Okay, so, and according to him, he figured that it was the arcana from 1 to 11. He calls the dry path. So, what is the dry path?
The dry path is like the, what is it? The active cards, and they are like the rational cards, like the logical aspect of stuff. Yeah.
And does that make sense to you?
Going through this, yes. Like I actually, like I looked at the cards and whether or not I would have switched any of those pairings, but the way that I see it, like it does make sense.
So dry being like less feeling, less wearing those emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
More like the swords energy in a way.
Okay. And then he says from 12 to 0. So obviously he's got the fool at the end there. He feels that is the humid path. And what does that mean?
Well, that's more like the passive energy, and he says that's like the receptive, intuitive, and mystical individual in those cards, like those archetypes. And that also makes sense to me.
It makes sense, but I could also see with the high priestess being so intuitive. Well, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking mixing up my femininity with my male energy. Male energy, not so intuitive, but female, yes. And then female being more inner feelings. So that's kind of where I was thinking of that there. But so would you like to get into the pairing?
Yeah. And maybe we should tell people what kind of decks we did this with.
Are you sure we should tell them, or no? I'm just kidding. Yes, please.
So the obvious choice, of course, is the RWS, which is the baseline, the starting point. And then I also used the Wisdom Seekers Tarot, the major arcana from that one. And then I used the Ansata Tarot. And the difference in this one is that the 8 and 11 card are switched, so strength and justice. So here I have the other one, because Oswald Worth, the way that he did it was like more Marseille style, where the 8 is justice and strength is 11.
That's another thing that when, because Rochelle and I and Courtney, we are studying Thoth Tarot. And when we got to the Justice card, which is 8 in that, I was like, wait, what is going on? You know, so yeah, that is excellent. And I'm so glad that you have that deck, because, or you probably have a couple now, because didn't you tell me?
I do. Like for me, the whole 8 and 11 topic, that started at the very beginning, because my first deck that I had is a bit Thoth inspired, and here they are switched as well. And then I have what was it? The Witch's Tarot. Let me get this. This one here, which is also known as the James Bond Tarot. That was my second tarot deck, and in this one they're also switched. And when I then got my Avalon Tarot, which was the third one, all of a sudden it was the other way, and I was like, wait a minute, why is this different? Like, what's the original now?
Yes, see, you were at where I am now.
That was like Yeah. So, and then there's also decks like this one that don't even have numbers in the majors.
Oh yeah. Well,
So here you can put it any which way. Of course, in the guidebook, they are in the order, but you could put 11 and 8, whichever way you want.
so according to what I have learned thus far, the numbering didn't come until after 1700. So between 1400s and 1700s, there was no numbers on the major arcana. So, and then of course the Golden Dawn and Rider Waite decides to put the numbers on, or not put the numbers on there, switch them.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
still
so
kind
Oswald,
of figuring that stuff out.
yeah, Oswald Worth, he was going with the French school. So like the Marseille, they had it in that way. And then the English school, the Golden Dawn, they switched it to the way that we know it now in most decks.
Yeah. And we're going to have to collaborate on that one too, and share our stuff there, because that blew my mind. So I'm using obviously the RWS, and I do have the Thoth out, but I went through all my decks, and the first one that Rochelle gifted me to help me learn tarot was the Gilded Tarot. And then of course I was just noticing how pretty it was. And I can't believe that it's been like 2 years since I've gotten this one out to look at it. So
Ciro Marchetti, he does make some pretty decks.
Oh, see, I don't even remember who it was that created it. But that's really, I have my wizard deck out just because to me that's my soul deck. He goes everywhere.
That's even another topic. Soul decks.
Yeah,
we're getting off.
Well, not so much soul deck as much as I guess you would say one of my guides, my dragon guide, is connected to that deck. He talks to me through that deck. So yeah, he's like, hey, I gotta tell you something. So anyway,
listen.
Yes, exactly. All right, so why don't we just get into Oswald Worth's reasoning for his pairing. So I noticed the first one is the Fool and the Magician.
Yeah, and he calls it the Magician, he is reason, and the Fool is madness. So those are the two pairs. So what do you make of the Magician for a reason?
That's like utilizing my whole self, and utilizing like for I don't know, whatever I'm diving into, using everything that I have, whereas the Fool would be maybe at the beginning of the journey, because he's got madness as there, not being gosh, I don't know, collected.
Well, something that you can, like, going with the pictures, like the Magician, he's got like all that stuff on the table, and the Fool, he's got his little bag, so he pretty much Marie Kondo'd his life, and he's traveling light. Whereas the Magician, he's gathering all of his supplies and everything that he needs, and the Fool's just like, nah, whatever.
Right. So that would be reason and madness. I could see that.
Yeah. And also, like, the Magician, he's like mastery and control, whereas the Fool, he's more like open to whatever happens kind of thing, like c'est la vie, que sera, whatever. And also the Magician, he's got like all those 4 elements of the suits in front of him, whereas the Fool has none of that. So it's like there's also this childlike innocence, and the Magician, like, he knows his stuff. He has to know his stuff, otherwise all that magic can go like completely sideways. And the Fool doesn't have to worry about anything like that. And so the Magician, he has already learned his lessons, and the Fool is just starting to learn these kind of lessons. And also,
So,
like in other decks, what I found interesting, and so like this is what they look like in the other. I have writing all over this card, so because that's what I do. Like I turned this into another journal, and I see it's very blurry. I'm trying to hold still. So, and then I also have the Ansata Tarot here, and what I found very interesting also is like the Fool here, he's stepping on the flower, and the Magician, he has the flower growing next to him. So the Fool, he really doesn't care too much about his environment. It's very me oriented, whereas the Magician is very aware of his surroundings and takes those things into consideration.
yeah, and there's really no feminine and male energy in that. And if I was going to pair the Fool up with anybody, it would either be the Magician, or I like the other pairing. It would be Zero and the World. And in these two cards, it looks like the Fool always needed the World as guidance. It's like you're in touch with your higher self guiding you to get to that where you have everything.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. I see where they, you're not going to have one without the other, and vice versa.
And also like the beginning and the end of a journey.
Yeah, the bookends, definitely, and everything in between.
Mm.
So, is there anything else that you would pair the Fool up with?
I think a very strong contrast to the Fool could also be the Hierophant, because the Fool is learning and the Hierophant is teaching. So that is a very strong contrast, I think. But otherwise, with the Magician, it makes sense with like being focused and being so, oh my God, I'm just going to look at the air and I'm not going to see the cliff in front of me.
Yeah, been there. So Carol asks if you are referring to the Tarot of the Magicians.
I don't know, because it talks about it in this book, and that's where I got this from.
There's a series, right? There's 3 of them, you said?
Yeah, there's 3 books. These are from Lo Scarabeo, and so I'm just going with what's written here in the chapter. I don't know which original book that is.
Okay. All right, so next, Oswald has 2 and the World. So that would be, I think I grab both of them too, actually. No, because that is the High Priestess. And
we've got the High Priestess now.
And the World. So what do you think about that? That one is Perception of the Unknown and the Infinite. Okay.
Yeah. So the Perception of the Unknown, the High Priestess, for me, that's like the intuition, the wisdom, the secrets, the inner voice, the answers, finding them within you, and also searching for understanding. And something, when I look at them in comparison, the High Priestess, she seems to somehow sit, well, not inside, but at least there's like with the columns. So she's, it looks like a kind of inside building atmosphere in a way. And the World is like completely outside, wide open. So this is like the inside stuff, the outside. So even like comparing just the images, that is something that stood out to me. Also, I have this much better in the other deck here, the the Wisdom Seekers. So here she really, this one, sits inside on her chair. She has the veil behind her, and the World, she's out like in a field. There's grass and everything, wide open. So also like reflecting the inner knowledge and then everything that you have learned going through the world.
Well, if you were to fold the tarot in half from the having the Fool at the beginning, then it would be Judgment and the Magician. That would be the next pairing. So I thought I'd at least show that, because I think that's the Carl Jung as far as how he paired them. He did that from the Fool being 0. So with the Magician and then Judgment, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with the Magician, having everything that he needs to make those decisions, and then making a judgment call. So I can see where those would be that would be a good pairing, or a good consecutive type procession.
Yeah.
So what would you pair? Say moving from 2 from the High Priestess.
Well, I actually agree with this pairing with the ways of looking at things, and I think this is a really good one with like the High Priestess, like all the secret knowledge and everything, and then when you come to the world, you have reached that point that she is trying to get to, or trying to help others get to.
It does make sense, and especially the way he uses those keywords to say, what he's trying to say. It makes a lot of sense, definitely. And I can see where, like, if you wanted to pair up the High Priestess with the Magician, even.
I mean, one pairing that I would also look at when it comes to male and female energy is the High Priestess with the Hierophant, or in some decks, as I like him to be called, the High Priest. So that is like to me, they are framing the Emperor and Empress, and so I see them as the spiritual advisors to the royalty in a way, and so that's another pairing that makes sense to me.
So what do you guys think? We've touched on the Fool, we've touched on the Magician, and we've touched on the High Priestess. Is there any way that you guys would pair them to, like, I don't know, create a pairing that speaks for itself? The thing on my tablet light keeps going off, so it gets bright and then it gets dark.
And another difference that I noticed also, the High Priestess, she's fully clothed. The world, she's pretty much naked. So as you like go through this whole journey, it kind of feels like a sense of liberation. Like in the beginning, this like learning all of that might seem kind of heavy, and all of that, and also the whole like secret studies in a way, like in older times what they did. And then once you get to that point with the enlightenment process, which is supposed to be kind of freeing, so I can see that going from like clothing to nakedness.
Well, so let me ask you, what is the reason for pairing them? I mean, what is your reason for pairing them? Why would you pair them?
I can see a progression in these two cards, like moving from one to the other, like we kind of have in the Fool's Journey, but this is like in some cases I see one as the starting point and one as the where I want to get to. Not for all of them, but for some it makes sense.
Okay. It's almost okay. That makes sense. Because before you had even brought it up, I was like, that was my question. And then for somebody to actually put it in a book, well, it had to mean something. I'm so new that, again, I have to explore everything that comes across my table. So what better way to do it, right? All right. So obviously, let's, like Carol says, she said, I also see them as analogies of opposites. Yes, because like almost sometimes if you're pairing up different energies, that are the opposite of each other. You might get the where you turn the magnet and it goes like this, whereas if you've got it's repelling each other. But if you've got a female and the feminine and the male energy, then you might have more where it's a yin and yang.
Complementing each other, yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, he has 3 and 10 as birth and rebirth. So let's find.
Oh my God, we're having a thunderstorm. I hope my internet holds.
Oh, so do I. Because then I'm just going to have to
Now I know why I have a migraine.
Oh, no.
It's the damn weather. So yeah, we have the Empress and the Judgment. So the Empress is, birth, and the Judgment, rebirth. And so what I see in the cards, like the Empress, she's the creative process, whereas the Judgment is the wake-up call. And so the process is something that takes a while. The wake-up call can happen like that. And that can go rather quickly. Also in the Empress, it's more like finding oneself, whereas in the Judgment, it's time to change something. Something that I see in both of them is like transformation energy, because something is going to be different afterwards. And with the Empress, I see compassion towards others, whereas the Judgment is more like compassion for yourself, because you have to make some kind of judgment call sometimes, and it's based on whatever you need to change in your life. Whereas the Empress is like having that mother energy, so giving that to others. She's got that gentle and kind energy, and it's really quiet. Whereas the Judgment can be quick and hard and loud, like the way that you can see it in this, in the Ansata Tarot, with this huge trumpet. Like there's no way that you will miss this wake-up call.
That is for sure.
Yeah. And also, like in the Empress card, everything seems like really tidy, whereas here it's like a Hieronymus Bosch kind of painting. Everything is like all over the place. So yeah.
Sorry, I dropped some cards and I'm like, where in the heck did it go?
Oh my God.
It flew right on the floor. I've got really slick cards here. My sister.
Yeah, it's when they're so glossy. That's like.
Oh my gosh, they're really pretty though, but they're the golden foil. RWS, and it's
usually you'd think that with the gold foil they're more sticky.
Oh no. I've had 78 card pickup a lot anytime I use them, so it's like there they go again. Okay, so as far as if I was going to pair up the Emperor with anybody, or not the Emperor, Empress, it would be the Emperor. If I was thinking of the male and the female energy, which obviously just, I think that was one of the first things learning the major arcana with Thoth. Obviously they're paired. So, and to me that makes sense. They're both powerful. It's both but yet I don't know. I think we just talked about the feminine energy. Without a good balance of male, not always is it proactive. So let's hear some of your guys' thoughts on this so far. Oh, thank you. I think they are cool. They're slick, but they're cool. Very cool. And I think I am up to about 25 decks now. So to me, that's
a good number.
I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there.
Just tarot or oracle decks as well, like all together?
I have, I think, only 3 oracle decks, and I'm bad. I don't use the Oracle very much. And I think it's just because
Same.
I'm really invested in tarot and learning it and retaining it. I don't even look at the Oracle right now. I will. I know I will, but I'm still, I need to get back into reading for people, you know. The more that I do that, I think I might, but
yeah.
So next we have the Emperor and the Sun.
Yes.
Which is,
so we got the old guy and the baby.
Mental and spiritual illumination.
Yes.
Which makes very much sense.
So how do you see the Emperor?
I see that as very action oriented, you know, being confident in your decision making. And then, of course, the Sun is the illumination of, you know, the truth. And so being, let's see, what did he say? Mental and spiritual illumination. Yeah. I could definitely see that. I can definitely see that using, again, almost in a practical sense to make a good decision or being confident in that decision, especially if you feel it in your gut too.
I've got some other pictures here. So in some decks, you will find that the Sun card doesn't have the naked baby, that it actually either has 2 kids or even 2 adults, like in this one. So that is also a little bit different. And also in the Ansata Tarot, you have 2 people here together. Also this, the Ansata deck works with different astrological associations. So this one here is paired with Gemini. And we also have the whole zodiac thing here.
Yeah, that's
so cool. That was a very different approach. But so when I looked at the differences between them, so for me it was like the Emperor, he's got like the possible ego, whereas in the Sun card I see the unconditional love. And so the Emperor is about control and rules and structure, whereas in the Sun I have this trust. I don't need to control things. I can just accept them the way that they are. And so the Emperor, he's got that power of will, whereas in the Sun, it's for me about the breaking down of walls to be more open, whereas the Emperor is making the rules and maybe even putting some walls up, some boundaries that we try to get rid of in the Sun. So I see him in a way as some kind of a lonely ruler. And for me, the Sun is more about integration of the conscious and the unconscious, which is also why we have 2 people here. And both cards, something that they have in common for me is their level of commitment, because no matter what you do, you have to commit to it, whether you trust something completely or whether you have this structure, the boundaries and everything. So there is a commitment needed in either one. But like the Emperor, he's bound by duty, and the Sun is free to explore.
Very nice. I think again the Emperor, I understand obviously what he is, the point he's trying to make with that. It makes total sense. But again, I've only paired the Emperor and the Empress if I was thinking of pairing thus far. So I will tell you, it opens up a whole new way to look at them.
Yeah.
And
so what would you pair with the Sun?
I think I would pair the Sun with, I don't want to be a cliche and say the Moon.
I would.
But, well, I could definitely see that, but I would think of like maybe what would be the most darkest card? so that the sun could shine, shine on it. And I'm not sure if it can't be death, because death is transformation and a new beginning. So I don't know what would be the darkest card in the tower.
It's probably the most feared card of the major arcana.
And so if you were to shine truth on it, maybe the tower moment would be more acceptable, or more easier to get through it if the truth is there. Because most of the times when we're struggling, it's because we don't understand what we're struggling against. So I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, why you got to quiz me like that anyway, huh? I'm just kidding. I appreciate it. Really, I do. I need it. So
hey, there are no wrong answers in tarot.
True.
Like whatever we interpret into those cards, sure, there are those meanings that someone at some point came up with, and we all learned them. But that's the thing. Like with the 3 different decks that I have in front of me, I read them slightly different based on the pictures.
And next time, though, I would suggest giving me A, B, C, and D
multiple
answers.
Choice.
Yeah, multiple choice. Yes, thank you. I do better with those. No. Anyway, so moving on, then we have the Hierophant and the Moon.
Yeah.
Which is philosophical and mystical abstractions. So explain that.
Okay, so for me, I see, maybe I should put it this way. So the Hierophant, and yeah, I'm looking at my notes because I did homework. So for me, the Hierophant is the authority, whereas the Moon is the unconscious. So he's the teacher and the mentor, and this is the shadow self. So this is the spirituality, and these are my desires. And so once again, inside and outside when it comes to the landscape, which is also like, it's kind of like in contrast. Like I see the Hierophant sitting inside, but the Moon card happens outside. But this is about like objective learning, and this is about subjective feelings. So this is about what's going on inside, and he's teaching to the outside. So like kind of like crossed in contrast. And so he is passing on the wisdom, whereas here I'm trying to find the wisdom.
I like that. Actually, I'm not positive, but I think actually the Hierophant and the Tower are the ones that are, if it's, no, I think that's wrong. I think if you folded them totally in half, would they be on top of each other? I remember reading that somewhere, somebody that used that. And the reason they put them together was because the Hierophant is so methodical, they're very kind of like yourself, has a system for everything and follows it through, very organized. And then the Tower is like
chaos.
Yeah, like
well, this is my birth card, so that's me.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, what do you know?
And it took me a very, very long time to like reconcile with this card, because like the popish images, that's for someone who didn't grow up with the church and who has no affiliation with any church teachings. Like that took me a while, but I do have other decks where he is called the High Priest, and that helped me a lot to get over this. Like this is just one way of depicting him. And so I worked with the other images first, and then eventually knowing what he is all about, I now understand him better. And I don't mind that he's looking like the Pope anymore. It's how he was drawn. It's not his fault.
Exactly. He has a role to play, definitely.
As we
So
all do.
yes, exactly. So if you were going to pair up the Hierophant, who would you pair him up with? I say
The
he.
High Priestess.
Okay.
The High Priestess.
Okay.
And the Moon, yeah, with the Sun as the obvious choice, but maybe the Moon can also be paired with the High Priestess, but I guess they complement each other very much. They're not
They,
so different.
yeah. Yeah. I know in like studying the SKT, she definitely will she uses the numbers as that's how she parallels the different cards in the deck to
Hmm.
go with what she's, so definitely the High Priestess and the Moon, I think, are connected. Um and I think for myself, I kind of like the Hierophant and the Tower thing just because of, I mean,
Order
you know,
and chaos, yeah, makes sense.
yeah, exactly. Um, Moving on then, unless you want to touch on that some more,
Yeah, I'm
we
good.
have, so, okay, next is the Lovers and the Star.
Okay, so we have choice and destiny. That's how he
Yes.
describes them. And maybe I should put them the other way around. So, what I have for that, like here we've got love, lust, and romance and life force. Whereas this is kind of like the quiet after the storm. And so we have union, and here it's kind of like rejuvenation, um, and also hope. And then in the lovers, what I see is like you have to choose between two different things, or maybe more. Like, but you have to choose a path for yourself. Whereas in the star, um, the mysteries are revealed, and you get the guidance from above. Like in the RWS, it's really small to see, but there is this bird sitting on the tree, which is a little bit bigger in this card, like up here. There's the bird, and that is our spiritual self, so the guidance from above. And so with the Lover's card, that is the beginning of the integration process, whereas in the Star card, the temperance has been achieved.
Nice.
And something that I also like with the Lover's card in other decks is they show a man standing between two women, and these
Mhm.
women represent opposites. Like here, one is fully clothed, so she's like chastity, and the other one is naked, the sensual and lust kind of thing, or even symbolizing that with like the hair color, even though both of them are naked. And so there is like a choice, whether
Definitely
it's in
choice.
love, in life, you have to choose, and you have to know why you choose that. So it's a challenge in a way. The
Mhm.
Lover's card is not just, oh my God, you're going to fall in love and you're going to get married, like the obvious thing of the name. But love is work. And the Lover's card very much, and that's why it makes sense as an active card. You have to do something. You have to, um, yeah, like spirit can only point you in the right direction so much. You have to do it.
So Carl Jung doing using the Fool as zero would get you to the Lovers and the Devil.
Yes.
So I that's like being tempted and trying to make a choice when you're like, oh gosh, this looks really good, but I know if
Yeah. Because you also have, like in the depiction, the two lovers, they come back in the devil card as the couple that is seemingly trapped. So, and we have the angel and we have the devil. So like the opposites. Here everything looks very free and everything's good. And here we are bound seemingly. but not really. So I can see why this makes sense as a pair.
So who would that be your choice for pairing up the lovers? Or what would you choose?
Probably, yeah. The lovers make very much sense with the devil card. But I can also see with the star, like love is hard and love can also be painful. And so with the star, we get the hope and, you know, the thought of a better tomorrow. So, but for the most part, I would probably pair it with the devil card.
Yeah. Yeah. You're speaking to me. I feel that. So next we have the Chariot and the Tower.
Yeah. And something that always irritates me about this Chariot card, like we say that the Chariot is all about movement, and I mean the Chariot is not a carriage, so the Chariot is usually used for like whether it's going into war, like we know from these old ancient Egyptian or ancient other civilizations when they had these like little things here, like in this picture, that were drawn by the, like one person could stand in there and then they had a horse in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of thing, like going into battle. And so with this, like the Sphinx, they're both just laying there flat, like they're not moving. So the one thing that never made sense to me is, why is this card associated with movement? Or why did he depict something that's standing still in a sense of movement? But that's just like about this card. Otherwise, the switch my page. So the Chariot is labeled control and the Tower is labeled abandon. And so, yeah, in the Chariot, we have speed and race, whereas in the Tower, we have chaos and change. So, yeah, this is very much about competition. And in the Tower, we have the shattering of illusions. So with the Chariot, you kind of have to know where you're going. You have to have a plan, otherwise you cannot control the horses or whatever you have in front of you. But the Tower is very much like the unknown, the divine intervention that just hits you out of nowhere. Sometimes you might see it coming if you're really paying attention to what's happening in your life, but sometimes it hits you out of left field and there's nothing you can do about it. The only question is then what you do with it. And so, yeah, in the Chariot, since we have these two, like the black and white Sphinx here, or like two different horses, or whatever it is, like there's also this, the outer and the inner conflict that you have to maneuver. So two different forces, and you have to decide which way you want to go. With the Tower, that is kind of taken from you. Like in that moment, you can't really choose where you go. It just happens. The only thing that you can choose is the aftermath and how you clean up, how you rebuild. So this is something that's forced on you, whereas here you make the decision. And that's why I can see that this is the active and this is the passive card.
Definitely. It makes sense.
Yeah. And I have these other depictions here in the Ansata. I'll show them. So here, yeah, it's very much more like this. He's either in a parade or he's going to battle, coming from battle, something like that. So this, I can actually see movement in this card. And this is my absolute favorite Tower card because there's a bunch of people falling out of the tower, but there's this one lady here in the green dress. And she's jumping out of the tower and she's facing the ground while everyone else is looking all over the place and being surprised. And she is like, yes, let's do this. And I'm going to face this head on. And I love that because we always think about the tower as something so scary. But I think every once in a while, we should have a tower moment and maybe choose to have a tower moment to get out of the old funk and just rebuild and get back to what it is that we originally wanted. Like if we took a left turn and went too far, sometimes we need the Tao moment. So I'm not afraid of a good Tao moment.
Definitely not. And I really like the way that he's paired it, because I feel like for myself, the Chariot is my subconscious. It's not my oversoul, because the oversoul already knows everything.
Yeah.
But my consciousness is still on that, my subconsciousness is still on that journey. So the Chariot is always moving in that aspect, because I don't want to be stagnant. And then the Tower is how I keep moving, how I keep learning. And it doesn't have to be bad. You're exactly right. Because when I think about the times that we're in, I don't get scared. I mean,
so many Tao moments.
Yeah. Yeah. I worry about other people around me, but no, I'm that lady that says, bring it on. Yeah. Yes, definitely. And then, so Carl Jung, he pairs up the Chariot and Temperance.
Okay.
So I can definitely see that too, because again, myself, I'm looking at the Chariot as my subconscious. So I'm learning. So what do you think? Who would you, I mean, are you?
Well, since the Chariot is all about movement, the only sense for me would be a stagnant card. So maybe the Hanged Man, where you take time to reflect.
Yep.
And you're not really going anywhere until you figure stuff out.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I definitely like that. Or the Hermit. All right. So moving on from that, we have Strength and the Devil.
Yeah. Ooh. Or do we? Because now we have card number 8. And so for me, I looked at both pairings where I have either Strength or Justice with the Devil. And I have to say, both make sense in a way, but I kind of agree with 8 as Justice a little more this way.
Wow.
So I can tell you either pairing. So with this one, for me, the Strength is the inner wisdom and higher self, whereas in the Devil, we examine the darkest parts of ourselves. The Strength is gentle, whereas the Devil is the hardships and challenges. The Strength is the rational, objective stuff, whereas the Devil is the instinctual, even sometimes animalistic part of us. And in the Strength, I'm suppressing the desire to dominate, which is why I'm trying to do this in a gentle way, whereas in the Devil, my temptation is being tested, and to see how far I can go, will not go. And so the Strength gives me a sense of purpose and the promise of success, whereas in the Devil, I'm confronted with the question of what is failure. So in that sense, I can see that pairing. Now with Justice, which is how Oswald Wirth did it. So the Justice would be order, and the Devil would be disorder.
Yeah.
And so the Justice for me is balance. The Devil is imbalance. The Justice is self-realization, whereas the Devil is seeking distractions. In the Justice, I have to assess my behavior and other people's behavior as well. Whereas in the Devil, I'm giving in to my urges. I'm not strong enough to fight it off necessarily. So with the Justice, there's this decisiveness and also the yin yang, the balance energy. And in the Devil, it's the feeling stuck and out of balance. So both of these make sense, but I like this pairing more.
Yeah. It's just order doesn't like disorder. So that's one of those that, unless it's order looking at disorder saying, okay, no, we got to put you in order. Get your shit together. So,
yeah.
Carl
I mean, they
Jung,
can learn something from each other.
oh,
Like if
that is
you are
true.
too structured, you're missing out on some pleasure. But if you're
Right.
all about pleasure, you need some structure in your life.
Yes. Yes. And Carol says she can see the pairing as the strength card has conquered and subdued the lower instincts. And I can definitely see that too. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. So just wait till we get to I think, what does he have paired up with? I'm moving ahead. Did we already go over that one?
Which
Who did
one?
he, which one did he have? Oh, it was strength. That's right. Because
Mm.
I was trying to see if we were going to come across it again. And I think, yeah, it's going to be justice and the wheel, right? When we get to that one, which would still, what I'm getting at is because it could still
Justice
be
and the
those two.
Hangman.
Oh, is that what it is?
Mm.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well,
And
so
in these pictures here, this is also the Justice and the Devil. Like here, everything is so neat and tidy. And of course, we have the scale with the heart and the feather. And then we have the underworld where it's like everything is all over the place and it looks very chaotic and everything. So, like even in the pictures, you can see a very different world. So very opposite.
yeah, Carl Jung does the strength and the death card. So even if you were to put justice and death, it's like, it's not judgment, but it's justice. So I'm just still messing around with 11 and 8 when I think about the names. So, and like from this point on, that's where my mind is going. So next one actually that is in the book, he has the Hermit paired up with Temperance.
Yes. So the Hermit as the researcher and the Temperance as the object of research, which I have never seen Temperance in that kind of sense. Like I didn't see this as an object, but I guess that's something that I would have to sit with for a while. So how do you see this pairing?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way he pairs them up is, in the beginning, was extremely foreign to me anyway, until I actually looked at how what the reasons, his keywords that he uses.
Mm.
So, I mean, like, this is the Temperance card that I have. I don't know. Can you see what she's doing?
She's got the light coming out of her hands. Was that it?
It looks like light and dark, and then the infinity symbol.
Oh, that's cool.
It is. So, I mean, and when you're in contemplation, when you're thinking about things, you're weighing everything. So if I mean, by looking at these two pictures, it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So what I have here in my notes. So the Hermit for me is the like being alone and withdrawn, whereas in the Temperance I see an energy exchange. The Hermit is very much about solitary things, whereas in the Temperance I'm looking for harmony between things. So with the Hermit, it's either or. It's like a very like black and white kind of thing, whereas the Temperance is looking for the middle way. And the Hermit is like the stripping of the self to the essentials, whereas yeah, the Temperance is seeking the middle between two extremes. And something that depicts that very well is the Ansata. Like here, he's standing in this cave, and here you even have the figure with two different heads, so something coming together. And like the two extremes that try to find the balance between them. And also the hermit is the inward journey, and something that I wrote down is pride, question mark, like how much of like pride and ego is in the hermit, whereas the temperance is all about understanding and creating a union between opposites, which is what we have, like with the exchange of the liquid between the cups. And so the hermit for me is very much about me, myself, and I. Whereas the temperance, I see that more as like teamwork.
Yeah, I mean, the cards that I have, the depiction, the pictures is like, for me, like politically speaking, if I was to go down that path, I had to have temperance. I had to find that middle path. And the only way to do that, honestly, is not looking at social media.
Oh, no.
It's going inside and, you know, seeing what's, you know, the big picture, but, you know, not listening to media to freaking sway me. The middle path has always been the best way for me. And the only way to see that is to listen to myself. So Carl Jung pairs up the hermit and the hanged man. Which I can see it.
Yeah. Well, to me, they're both very much alone. So if I want to have opposites, then to the hermit, I would choose like something not alone. So since the hermit is very much like shining his light in the darkness, having his lantern, maybe for illumination, I could see it with a sun card, maybe. Or maybe even in a way with, well, the high priestess, she's also very much alone. I guess besides the pairing that we just had with temperance, I guess I would go with the sun as another possible pair.
I could see that. I like the hermit and the hierophant together. Just because that speaks to my whole freaking journey. It's definitely outside of myself. It's not my physical self. It's, when I say outside, I definitely mean my consciousness.
Yeah. So healers, the hermit and the temperance. Well, yeah, the hermit, if he is on his inward journey, trying to find himself, that is shadow work. And so he is doing the healing for himself. And in the temperance, finding the balance, that's also very important. That's something that we need. The yin yang energy. So both of this is very much healing. It's just one is kind of going into darkness and the other one is more out in the light, I guess.
Nice. And I can definitely see that too. Next, we do have, this is what I was thinking about. Yeah, justice and death.
The wheel and death.
The wheel and death. Yeah, I got the wrong one. Oh, there we are. Yeah.
We have the cycle and the end of the cycle. So something that is similar for me in both cards is transformation, because no matter which way this goes, no matter which card you get, something is transforming. And
hi, Sissy.
Oh, hi. And as for the differences with the wheel, this is like going round and round, and maybe I should pick the other card. So these depictions, I like them a little bit better to make my points. So the wheel is like very much, it's just standing there, and it has this handle where you can like turn it around and around. So for me, the death is like a one-time thing that happens, whereas the wheel, no matter where you are on that wheel, if you don't get off, you're going to be stuck on that wheel like a hamster wheel, and you're going to experience the same things over and over again. And for the like, this is the dangerous part of this, is like you could repeat the same stuff without learning your lesson, whereas with the death, you're transforming something. There's a certain rebirth, and so it's a new beginning, going from one to the other. And with wheel cards, something that I see is also the possible feeling of losing control, whereas I see the death card as liberation through separation from the material world. So where you realize what's really important to you. And with a wheel, it gives it like knowing what these things are, and everything goes up and down. Like when something good happens, something bad will happen, something good will happen again, and so on. It kind of gives you a certain sense of planning in some way, whereas this is very unexpected. And yeah, like this gives a little bit more structure, and maybe even safety in a way, where this is the uncertainty, and you have to figure out what comes next. Like you don't know what the next step will be, whereas here you can kind of plan that.
Yeah, I apologize. I totally skipped over that one, and I was going to the last one. That's right. Next time we're going to host on your channel, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot, like both cards for me beg the question, how do I deal with change?
I can see that. So for me, if I'm looking at the Wheel of Fortune and Death, the Wheel of Fortune is kind of like the cycling, like you're being reborn. So I can see, to me, that is a very, very good pair up, but it's like you're at the end of the cycle, and then it's another rebirth. So I can definitely, I agree with that pairing very much, because I believe in past lives, obviously. And so then you got that karmic thing going on, and it's an essential pairing, I believe. So would you consider anything else with the wheel?
With the wheel, since it's always in motion, I guess something that's not in motion would be the Hanged Man as a possible pair. Or let's see, what else is stagnant?
I think Carl Jung has it with Justice.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Judgment, if that makes sense. I would have to look at that one. But for the most part, I would say one pairing would also be, for me, the Hanged Man, like the moving and standing still.
Just giving you a compliment.
Thank you.
I agree with that. I turn to you very much, you and Rochelle. I love all of it, especially being on this, just learning. I have to find ways that help me retain. You know what I mean?
Well, something that really helped me is just writing that stuff on the card.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that point yet. So I did buy a deck that has a lot of stuff on it, though. So I have something to refer to.
I bought this one. It's also a pip deck, which I normally don't really work with. But I bought this one specifically to write on it. That was the intention that I always had with this deck.
That's a great idea, because not always are you going to find someone else's, how they associate the card. That's how you might associate it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have your basic standard, but.
Yeah. And this is an ongoing thing. It's not like I just sit down and write down the keywords from the book. something that I do is whenever, like, I watch pick a card readings to find out how other readers see the cards. And when I hear something good about a card that someone says, I will take out my marker and I will write it down on my card. And that's how I continue working with this. Like, I use this specifically, and I started this with my Haunted House deck. This is now the second deck that I'm doing this with, and it's not going to be the last one.
All right.
And so I'm turning this into my tarot journal, because writing in a journal just doesn't work for me. Like, after 3 pages, I get bored, I stop, I don't ever look at it again. And this way, I don't have to get another journal and then look for the page. I have everything on here right away, which also makes it for a good travel deck, because if you're going someplace and you want to pack light, you got your book right here with you.
Excellent. I will get there when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And it also helps if you're reading for other people and you're drawing a blank, which happens to the best of us, and then you can just look at your own notes.
I think, Rochelle, we're definitely talking about, I think opposites is what Worth is going for.
Yeah.
And then we're thinking of similar or complementary, just as pairing it with anything just to make a point of some sort, or a what would you call it?
Yeah, like looking for either the opposites or the complementary energies.
Yes. Oops, I just went all the way through chat. Look at that. Whee! It was like a wheel. I hit it and it went all the way back to the beginning. All right. So now the last one, he has power and impotency. So it could be justice and the hangman, or strength and the hangman.
So I looked at both of these pairings, and for me, the one that makes more sense is the hangman with strength. And so I'm going to talk about that one first. So this is what he has labeled as power and impotency. So I see the strength card in that sense as the rational, objective mind, whereas this is the changing of perspective. So this gives me a sense of purpose in the world, whereas this is wanting to free from illusions. Wait, what am I? Wanting to free myself from illusions of this being the only reality. Like, even questioning reality here. I know what my reality is, and here's like, what is my reality? And so this one is like, I'm acting on something, and here I'm thinking about it. So this is the mastery of it, and this is the exploration of it. And that's how I have that pairing. And this one would be the justice is the decisiveness, whereas here I'm exploring something. Here I've got the balance. Here I'm looking for balance. This is very earthly, and this is the spiritual aspect. So here wisdom is needed, and here wisdom is incomplete. I'm still looking for it, but here it needs to be executed. So both make sense, but I like the strength combination better.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially with him having it justice and 8 switch. So Young has the wheel and justice paired. So, and I think Amy said a while back that she thought that devil or death and justice, which one? I'd have to go back and see what she said. Justice and the devil seem to fit together nicely. And
that too, yeah.
I think so too. Definitely.
And something that I also like about the hangman card in other decks is when he's actually between 2 trees, and they symbolize, one of them is the tree of knowledge and the other one is the tree of life. And so he's in between, trying to figure out who he is, what his place in the world is. And I have to say, I like that depiction much better than just having one thing behind him.
I do too.
Because like from the symbolism, that just gives me more to work with. Or like here in this card, he's got these horns on his head, and he's got the sun and the moon. So he is also stuck between two opposing forces, and either like finding balance with both of them, deciding which one he wants to go with, and all that kind of stuff. And he's also between the two trees.
That's pretty
But
interesting.
even though he's hanging, like here, he's even playing the flute. It looks like he doesn't have a care in the world.
Right.
And so that just shows that all of this is self-imposed, whereas here action is wanted by other people, and here you're just doing that by yourself.
Mine has a library behind him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he's got, I mean, and of course he's hanging from a tree. So
Yeah.
I like what you said about that. It's almost like the tree of life and tree of knowledge.
Hmm.
I like
Well,
that.
now he's reflecting on everything that he has read. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty
Making
cool.
sense of the knowledge. Yeah.
That's my dragon guide there.
Yeah.
That's how he speaks to me.
That deck is cool.
It is. I like it. I like it.
So which of the pairings, strength or justice, do you see fits better?
I have to say I like the strength better, definitely. As far as with the Hanged Man,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't even. I'm not going to get into a big. I'm just going to agree with you on that one because everything you said made sense, and I'm pretty sure I can't repeat it. So, so Carol says, she says, yes, I think he's in the process of integrating all the symbols that surround him and needs to incorporate to retain the balance he seeks.
Mm-hmm.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, very much.
So, we are over an hour, and we are going to collaborate again.
Yeah.
And
we already have a topic picked out,
yes.
but we're not going to reveal it just yet.
Okay.
So
right. I'm glad you
we're
said
going to
that.
have to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do the things, subscribe and like and ring the bell and all that good stuff.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So, and then, Maria, you're having the round table on your channel.
Yes.
It's
4th, next right? Saturday on the 4th, and it's at noon Eastern time. So whatever that is in other people's time zones, for me, it's 7 in the evening. So yeah, and we're talking about the 3s in the tarot.
Yeah, that very divine, or well, divine, powerful number. I think anyway. Definitely.
It's also my favorite number. I can't explain why, but I always love the 3. Yeah.
Huh. Nice. All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody watching today, and I appreciate anybody that watches the playback because I sometimes find myself having to do that more than I can catch a live. So anytime it is extremely appreciated. Thank you very much, and I hope to see everybody soon. And I love you. I love all of you. And Maria, thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming on my channel. Sharing it with me. All right.
This is fun.
It is fun. It is fun. All right. Well, everybody enjoy the rest of your day and have a good holiday weekend. And it isn't a holiday for you, though, is it, Maria?
No, not in Germany.
Well,
we don't have Memorial Day.
I get it. I get it. You have other weird.
We have other holidays.
From us that's different, but that's cool. All right. Well, I will talk to everybody later. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.